Everyone, the Lapeer Community School Board of Education meeting has now pulled to order. I will turn it over to you, Superintendent Wandry, for the pledge introduction this evening.
Thank you, Madam President. It is my pleasure to introduce Ms. Anita Lawrence, the principal at Lynch Elementary School, to introduce our Pledge of Allegiance leaders this evening.
We have Willow Hortini, Piper Hortini, Waylon Hortini, Sebastian Needham, Charlie Cleary, and Sunny.
All right.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great job, guys.
Thank you. Okay, we will begin with our presenting schools this evening. Superintendent Wandry.
Thank you, Madam President. Ms. Lawrence will now, from Lynch Elementary, present benchmark 1 to B. Anita? It takes a team, Anita.
Thanks for having us. Today, as Matt said, our board goal is 1-2B this year. We're focused on ensuring that schools provide age-appropriate career information resources in grades K through 12, following the Michigan Career Model. This year, we held a career day at lunch with a variety of career types to raise awareness at the elementary level. It's important for students in early grades to become familiar with different careers through learning that connects classrooms, instruction, and future work. Students should be exposed to a broad spectrum of career zones to expand their understanding of various professions.
When kids think about their careers and what they want to be when they grow up, they tend to lean towards the traditional careers. Our goal when scheduling presenters for Career Day was to expose our students to each one of the 6 categories. In the end, our Career Day featured over 25 careers, highlighting at least 3 careers from each zone. Some of the careers that were presented to our students were behavior specialists, dog groomer, robotics, electrician, cosmetologist, optometrist, and just many more. In just one day, our students were given the opportunity to gain a greater understanding in the endless possibilities that are out there waiting for them.
So our presenters' involvement enhanced the learning environment. It created connections between home and school and inspired our students through real-world examples. So tonight we're going to start this presentation with those who had impacted the most, our parents and our students. So at this time, I'd like to introduce Kathy Martini. If you could come on up, and she is going to talk about her experience with Career Day and how it impacted our students.
Hello, I'm Kathy, and I was the cosmetologist that presented that career, and I didn't really know how to explain to the kids. Everyone knows they get their hair cut, so I brought tools to have them know how it feels to do my job. So I brought like hair pieces, facial hair, just really different outrageous wigs to try to get them to see what it would be like to be in my shoes. And it's more than just a job, it's how you make people feel. So they got to try on different things, pick things for their peers. The kids seemed to really enjoy it. My husband also represented engineering, and he got to do circuit boards for the kids, it was just a much different level of entertainment for them, but it seemed to pique their interest, and they had lots of questions. But overall, I think my children really enjoyed it very much. A lot of kids, they talked about it for days afterwards, and it was very enjoyable to be part of it. And I definitely will go back next year to present again.
So we did have another presenter, but she had to work, so she's not going to make it. Now, for the most exciting part of our presentation, we would like to introduce a few of our students who we've just met for the pledge, and they are going to talk about their favorite part of Career Day and what they want to be when they grow up. So can you guys come up? So Willow, do you want to go first and tell them? Okay. So what do you want to be when you grow up?
When I grow up, I would like to have my own little business called Content Talk.
Great. What was your favorite part of Career Day?
My favorite part of career is robotics and
Sunny, do you want to go next?
my favorite part of career day was the robotics.
Oh. And what do you want to be when you grow up?
An engineer.
Sebastian?
My favorite part of the career day was the gear analysis. And I want to be a video game designer when I grow up.
Great. Michael?
I want to be a
And what was your favorite part of Career Day? Charlie, you ready?
My favorite part of career day was seeing the robotics. Now, what I want to be when I grow up is a robotic engineer
Why do you want to be that when you grow up?
because robotics can do really cool things.
Waylon, ready? Go. Do you want to be when you
My
grow up?
favorite part was the engineer because it was so fun. When I want to go, I want to be an engineer.
Great.
All right,
Thanks,
produce
guys.
and engineers at Lynn.
That's our future Board of Education right there.
We need lots of engineers, so we sure do.
So Career Day was not just a fun day for our students, presenters, and teachers, but more importantly, it was a way to intentionally link our curriculum to the real-world connections. By teachers connecting their standards to Career Day, it allowed a real-world opportunity for them to apply their learning to things that have much more meaning to them now. These are the things that our students will remember in 5 to 10 years to come. For example, our 4th grade students covered over 7 of their grade level standards by having students read, research, summarize, and write about different careers. They also covered math standards by comparing salaries, multiplying numbers to figure out the cost of the college that best suits their careers. And that was just one grade level. This was happening in every grade level. We also brought some of the things that the kids were doing in their classroom, and then we have examples up here, just to kind of highlight how much the teachers were integrating the curriculum.
Our students also have the opportunity to dive into Career Town. In the picture you see right now, this is what they see when they log into their computer. And in this program, they can embark on an adventure that underlines not only the variety of work and workers in a community, but the importance of every worker in that community. So Career Town is available through Zello, which is a district career awareness program that we have. And it unlocks every student's potential and equips them for future career opportunities. We also did survey all of our students when we were done. And in that survey, we posed this question: when I grow up, I want to be. And we had such a vast array of responses from our students. And we just added some of the most popular out there. I want to be a nurse like my mom. I want to be in Homeland Security. Many of our students did identify careers that align with the 6 zones of the Michigan Career Development Model, showcasing their understanding of various professional pathways. A significant number of our students chose careers that they researched during their class discussions, as well as those explored during Career Day. This indicates that our instructional efforts and events like Career Day effectively engage students in thinking about their future and help them make informed choices about potential careers.
Our Career Day achieved exactly what we set out to accomplish. We exposed students to various careers, allowing them to learn new skills. We connected academics to the real world and developed career awareness, which increased student motivation and interest. And at this time, we would
all special visitors that are on the board that did come. You will see yourself in this video.
No sound.
We even showed up this morning.
We tried to make sure we had some. It's going to work.
So this kid is explaining what he learned from the road commission and how they use different salt for the paved roads and the dirt roads. There's just cute little music. Anita, go with the music.
I definitely just share the video with you tomorrow instead of explaining each job.
So when you're outside, what kind of clothes should you wear? Winter clothes, but what else should you wear? Rain boots? Okay, well, yeah. Bright colors, like this.
Hello, my name is Lee, and when I grow up, I want to be a chemist to study chemicals and keep people safe. Hi, my name is Allison, and when I grow up, I want to be an archaeologist.
First, what do you have in your hand? What do you have in your hand?
Candy!
No, we don't know what candy is. I don't know what that is. It looks like a rock. I have no idea what that is.
Hi, this is Ellie. I want to be an artist when I grow up because I'm good at art.
You think in front of their eyes, like you guys with glasses? No. It's a big word called a phoroptony. But basically, it's got everybody's prescription in it. Everybody's. We just have to find out which one is yours.
I want to be a singer because I want to be talkative.
But you see, all he cares about is the ball. That's the only reason he works good. Down. Sit. Down. Sit.
And then when you're 21, you can go and apply and get a job, or you can do just go to work. That's what I did. I got my job in law enforcement. I worked my way up, and then I transferred over to Homeland Security.
I want to be an artist. They were robotics. We get to go see them and we can draw a shape. It was like so fun.
100,000 subscribers.
I gather this bag. So, what else do I have in here?
Yeah. What do you got here?
Oh yeah, we have
But if you have a pink eye or something like that, you're gonna come see us and we're gonna try and fix it. You got it.
What's your favorite part of the day so far? It's being at school for this very minute.
Our second parent did show up, our second speaker, Carolina Needham, to help her day at.
Sorry, I had a final presentation to do today, so I was a little bit late, sorry, I apologize. So I thought it was such a great opportunity for parents to be able, as a presenter, to be able to do that. I was very shocked, and I was very nervous about doing the presentation to the little kids, because even my daughter's in early 5, they're only just in 5, and questions and how interested they were in what we were doing. It was just such a great opportunity to see them just kind of thinking of different jobs and everything, and I was really surprised to hear a lot of the kids were asking, how much do you make?
Cut to the chase.
How long do you go to school for? Like, the questions were very thoughtful, regardless of the age. It was just a very thought out process, and I think as a parent presenting, I was really surprised on just kind of the variety of opportunities and the job options that they offered, everything from trades to doctorate level. It was just a really good opportunity to be able to see just kind of the kids interacting with that and just exposing to that. So I thought it was a really good experience for us, and I was very lucky to be able to be part of it, so it was great.
Thank you.
And our next slide says thank you. Allowing us to come here and all.
Thank you.
Any comments or questions from you?
Looked like a fun day. I gotta say, it was a blast. That table was
I had so much fun.
the questions, the questions from the kids at all the different grades, like she said, they were great, they were fun, they were interesting. So, yeah, it was a fun day.
It was a lot of fun. Just like you said, the questions that the kids came up with, and wanting to just push every button and see what does this do. I was there for the road commission, so how does the truck lift up like that? How does the bucket work, and how big are those tires? And it was just really a great opportunity to just share the love of what I was doing at that time with the kids. So it was a lot of fun.
We really appreciate you coming.
That was fun.
Thank you so much for the invitation.
I'll be waiting the invitation. Couple minor oversights, but
Lost in the mail.
meeting adjourned.
Well, thank you kids for sharing with us
Yeah.
your experience that day and what you want to be when you grow up. I think it's amazing. Keep pursuing those dreams.
Good job, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And you're very welcome to stay, but if you would like to, it's okay, you can leave. Very well,
The rest of it's kind of boring. Yeah. Hey. I noticed no one put on their superintendent.
I noticed the same thing.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Hint.
Okay, so tonight we are very lucky. We get another school to present this evening. I'll turn it over.
Thank you very much. Yes, it is my distinct pleasure and unique honor to introduce Mr. Shad Spilsky, our Principal Director of the Center for Innovation, to present CFI's goal, benchmark 1, 2D.
This one might be hard to follow.
Well, I'm a little worried because Anita's at the bar at 19 minutes. You know that I usually go longer than that. So I'm a little worried.
She also brought cute elementary kids too, Shad.
Yeah, I brought some kids.
You brought some cute kids?
Thank you, Mr. Laundrie, for having us tonight. So tonight, we are presenting, I'm going to have some guest speakers, so you're not going to get to listen to me for the next, hour and a half, which normally happens. So, we're going to have some folks from Community High, along with some students from there, and then some folks from our LVP that will be presenting too. So, just talking kind of what our talks are tonight, our board goal, the type of students we have in virtual, just to kind of remind you guys what virtual looks like for us, and then ways that we're working towards our goal. Our goal, unlike Anita, having 100% of kids participate in that, like our goal is a little bit different. So when we look at our goal is to provide every child access to an aligned, high-quality curriculum from early childhood to post-secondary. So our strategy is ensuring that every student has opportunity to take meaningful steps towards the post-secondary. But what we're really looking at is the benchmark 1.220, right? And that's that 80% of all students taking a virtual course through LCS will complete with a passing grade. We know, even in a traditional setting, that not every kid passes every class. That, a few years ago, this was supposed to be 100%. That's not attainable. I mean, as much as we would love to say that getting everybody to pass every class is what we want, which is what we do want, that doesn't happen in any school district. So we revisited this and looked at it, that 80% is maybe an attainable goal that we need to get to, and then as you'll see on our graph here, we go all the way back to 2018, 2019. You can see we kind of had plateaued at that 72 to 70 to 68, whatever. This year, and I think because of some of the initiatives that we put both at LVP and at Community High, first semester we're at 77%. That's the highest we have been since we kind of started tracking this data almost 7 years ago. So making some improvements, and I'm going to show kind of, I think, why we made some improvements and kind of some next steps of some things that we're doing too to maybe get that to that 80% down and be a great conversation with Michelle at some point. Then we need to revisit that board goal because we've hit it. How do we continue, or how do we continue to do that? And we need to raise that a little bit. So just to talk about what of our types of virtual students we have. So we show this slide every year, just, we have new board members down, that you're new board members. So just kind of give you an idea of what virtual students look like in LCS. So we have our full-time virtual students. So that is any student, whether it's K through 12, that's taking 3 or more virtual classes, okay? So they could take 3 classes, they can take 3 classes at the high school, and they're still considered a virtual student according to the board counting for the ND, okay? A lot of our students take more than 3, so they're taking 4 classes through us, and then they're taking maybe up to 6. But they could be taking 4, they could be taking 5, maybe they're taking a dual enrollment somewhere, or they're taking a class at the high school. We have about, this year we've raised between about 370 to 390 kids that are full-time virtual students in our district, K-12. Last year we were about 271. So we've increased that about 100 kids that have found that the traditional setting wasn't necessarily their cup of tea. They've moved to some type of virtual setting that we offer here in the district. With Michonne's help, we have brought in a number of families that were not a part of LCS and have transferred over because they went to another district and maybe didn't like their platform or what they did, or maybe they were a homeschool family and they came to us because they liked some of the offerings that we have, because maybe they've done, what we're going to talk about here in a second, is they were an LVP kid and they really like some of the things that we're doing out of the partnership. So the other virtual students we have is our peer community high school students, or alternative students. So that's everybody that's over at CFI, and then any of our students that are over at Maple Grove. That's kind of considered within the alternative setting. So in those 2 buildings, we're about 102 to 105 kids between community high and some of the students that we have out of Maple Grove. So those kids are button seat, full-time, face-to-face, but having a virtual platform with certified teachers there to help them along the way. Our onesie-twosies are students that are at Zimmer and the high school. So those are kids that are taking either 1 or 2 virtual classes and then are taking face-to-face classes. So they kind of fall in a different bucket. The high school, between the high school and Zimmer, this year we're around 170 students that are taking a virtual class, or maybe 2 classes, and still taking 4 other classes or 5 other classes, either at Zimmer or the high school. So those students have a teacher mentor at the high school that's a certified staff member who is monitoring their classes, grading their works, giving them feedback throughout every week. The last one is our peer virtual partnership. So those are our homeschool students. So to be considered a part of our partnership, you have to at least enroll in 2 classes. And these are non-core classes. So it's your elective, it's your PE, it's your music, it's your art, culinary. We offer a lot of different classes to the different vendors that we have. So they can take up to 5. So they're not taking a full caseload, but they're not taking any core. They're doing their core through some homeschool curriculum that they've purchased, and they're teaching the kids at home for their core classes. But they're taking that, they're using our facility out at Crampton, doing our OLAs, which is the next part. And then we're getting FTE from them in a capacity that could range from 2 to, because of how many credits they take, will depend on fluctuating what we get for them. Out of the partnership, out of Crampton, we have our 2-day program in our OLA. So any of our virtual students, except for our community high Maple Grove kids in our 1s and 2s, can attend the 2-day program out of the partnership. So we have certified teachers out of the partnership, and then we have our mentors that are out there who are going over the big projects and helping kids through that kind of stuff. So a kid might sign up for a 2-day program, so they're there on Monday, Thursday, or they're on there on Tuesday or Friday. Or Wednesday's kind of our OLA class. So as I've explained before, say we're taking a PE class online, and they wanted to go take karate at PSK. They can go, we pay for that, they can go there. We have kids who take music, and we have somebody who comes out and teaches guitar lessons on Wednesday. We have kids who take Spanish, and we have people out there teaching Spanish. So they're getting some of that face-to-face interaction of how to actually do those things on those OLA kids. So a lot of different versions of how we offer virtual learning in our district. So I mean, when you think about 370 full-time kids to another 170, we're talking 550 kids that we're able to keep in our district and offer them some other type of educational setting that they are looking for and that they truly enjoy. So, I'm going to bring up Katie Edwards. She's one of our virtual teachers, certified teachers that works out at the partnership. So she has a caseload of about 60 to 70 kids, depending on the year, but she works with our K-5 kids. But she does a lot of different things out at the partnership. One of the things that she has done is really between the high school, between the alternative high school and our virtual is really kind of dove into the AI world. So I'm going to have her talk about AI and what we're doing in the virtual world with them.
Well, thank you for having me. So this is a quote that I like, but one of the most important things about any tool is how you use it. So an example of a hammer, it can be used to build things, but it can be used to break things too. And so when we're looking at AI, which stands for artificial intelligence, we're really looking at teaching students how to use that tool for good. And so over the last 12 months, like as a society, we've really kind of reached this turning point where we're no longer going to AI and choosing to use it. It's embedded in the things that we're doing. Like it's already with us. And so teaching students how to navigate that is not optional. It's not something we can just have the tech committee block. It's something that is like embedded in our lifetimes. Students need to know how to navigate it. And how this ties really specifically to what Mr. Stilsky has already talked about is a big problem is students not understanding the ethical implications of that, and what's plagiarism and what's not. And so we have really been tackling that head on to make sure that students are not struggling in their classes because they're not understanding that how to use these tools. So the first thing that we did was we started working to establish some guidelines and resources to help students and their families learn to use AI with caution, creativity, discernment, and innovation. So this is a sliding scale, and this is something that we kind of put together using some other resources too, of examples of really great use of AI and really poor use of AI. And these are the main 3 principles that we decided as a team to guide us in talking to students and parents about AI, is to use AI to support your learning, not to replace it, to be honest about your use of AI, and to be aware of the potential risks of using AI. So this chart is normally one piece, but it would have been really hard to read. So you can see all the way from a bad example there is having AI write your essay for you and turn it in as your own work, right? Like that is plagiarism. But then all the way on the other end, using AI to find out what part of the math problem you got wrong on a completed assignment. So that when you get that grade back and you see that you didn't do well on that test, but you don't know where it went wrong. And a lot of these kids are working on parts of this at home, alone. They can use those tools to show what part of the step went wrong. So the first part of this we did was our whole staff really explored AI and got our own hands on it and went to some of the experts in the field for a better understanding on the topic before we ever thought of like bringing it to students or creating resources with them. And so we wanted to, in February 2024 actually, so it sounds like a long time ago, but it was about a year and 2 months ago now, we started using our PD time to kind of dive into some of this, which was really beneficial to us. We got to look at what AI is, how it works, why students need these skills for future employability, how to protect students from some of the dangers of using AI, and how we ourselves could more accurately evaluate the safety and usefulness of these different tools. So these are some of the slides just from that PD that we did, some of the different principles of using AI in education, some of the statistics that we went over. So then in August 2024, we read AI policies from many different schools. We looked at some schools close to us in Michigan. We looked at some schools outside of Michigan. We even looked at some schools outside of the United States. We looked at some university policies, and their AI policies are like 27 pages long. And so then as a team with all of the teachers at the Center for Innovation and all of the certified teachers at Lapeer Virtual Partnership, we worked together to develop what are our guidelines, what fits our program, what are the best parts of these that fit what we're already doing that can help clarify these things, because there was just so much gray area for families. So that's the entire document right there. So you can see our main principles that we kind of went over, and the chart of like inappropriate to appropriate uses. And in that first page, we also talk about how to cite AI, if you use AI for something, giving credit and being transparent about that. So that was the next thing that we did. And at the beginning of this year, we shared this information with all the virtual families that are mandatory meeting. And every time that we've had incidences of any type of plagiarism or ethical issues with that, we've come back to this document. So every virtual teacher in kindergarten through 12th grade, every subject that we help them with, we have this universal document that we keep bringing families and students back to, so that we have a really clear and concise kind of message about how to use it well, and our standards for that. So then after we really saw a reduction in the inappropriate uses of AI, we started turning our efforts, especially in professional development, how to use AI to help students. And so we became more familiar with some of the AI tools to help students with like screen readers, grammar editing tools, language translators, and a lot more things like that that you've probably heard a little bit of here and there. And so that's a really fun experience to see, okay, we've talked about a while like how not to use it. Now these are the ways we can use it to help support kids, especially to help support any of our struggling readers, any of our ELL students. And we know that like virtual can be really tough for some of the kids who are dealing with that. So the next part is that our journey with AI is not over. Like we're kind of in the middle of this process still, right? We're continuing to grow. New things are coming out. And we're really reaching to a new level of complexity. We're really starting to look at how can we use some of these new tools in generative AI to help us fill in the gaps from the COVID learning loss, right? And so some of the things like there are AI tutors, and there's adaptive assessments and instruction, and you can give students summaries to quickly build background knowledge that they might have missed when they were out those years. So one example that I give is if students are assigned to write about an animal in the Sahara, and they have no background knowledge, then we can quickly fill that in by gathering a list of animals or gathering information about that, and you can even ask AI to give you links to reputable sources for this. So they're not just relying on it, but we're teaching them how to start there and save that time in researching so that you can build a deeper level of understanding and get to those higher level of thinking tasks without suffering from anything that might be missing or anything like that. So as we use it for more complex things, we also have some more complex issues that we're working on addressing too. Like how can we make sure that students are not using sources like ChatGPT, that are not, that might collect personal data or might give answers that are not appropriate for minors. And also, how can we offer, or how can we teach students to craft their prompts for AI so that they're asking exactly what they need to know and getting accurate information back. And then also teaching students about things like hallucinations and biases that AI often has trouble with. How can we know how to navigate that ourselves and also teach them and give them the skills for that. So it is a really exciting thing to be a part of. We've done a lot with AI. We still have a long way to go. But every kid that comes to our door is a digital citizen. And this is something that is not just going to help them do better in their grades and help them do better in school. This is a skill that like employers are expecting them to have and something that they need to be able to navigate. So thank you for letting me come.
Thank you.
I just have a quick question.
Yes.
Just on my mind. Is the PD also helping you guys with resources to detect plagiarism, to detect misappropriate usage of the tool?
Yeah, so that is a great question. And so that is one thing that plagiarism is getting harder and harder to detect because it's not sounding like a robot anymore, right? It's sounding like human speech. And so that is pushing us to some new heights in virtual too, where we have to look and say, is this an authentic assessment? Are we having them do a rough draft in the writing process and a final draft where it's much harder to take all of those steps? Or are we just asking for a quick one and done paper? And so those are again things that like we're evaluating and we'll have to change some of the things that have just been done a certain way because of this. But our team is really they've been so collaborative. Like this was not something that I wrote this policy and handed it out. Like we all sat together in the cafeteria, a very hot day, and read 27-page AI policy documents and work together on it. So it's really a reflection of the great team that we have. And so I'm excited to see how they meet those challenges. But the detection software, we have some that is like our preferred choices. But it's going to get to where we just need to make sure we have really authentic assessments.
I mean, it's a great tool. It's not going away, and we should direct them in the right. It sounds like you guys are doing a great job. I just wondered how the detection is coming along at the same pace.
Well, I think to Katie's point, we had a long conversation about kids who are writing papers, especially whether it's in science, lab reports in science or studies papers or English papers, is really making them do a rough draft in their own voice. Yeah. And so we get a kind of a baseline of how they talk, and then when we look at that, when we look at their final drafts, or we look at something they turn in real quick because it's due, we can really determine that they've just gone to AI and just say, hey, I need a paper on blah, 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 and it's this 5-page paper, which they have a hard time writing 4 paragraphs. So I mean, that's something that we're really, both community and at LPP is, that authentic piece is still super important to the learning so that our teachers know how somebody uses, their voice or writes something. So that's a big piece that we have found that still needs to happen on a day-to-day basis. So another piece too, thank you, Kate, that, we're seeing that these things that we've implemented this year, I think is one piece of why our percentage is up. Another thing that Michonne has done out of the partnership is, they don't have a tutor program out there like we do in our other buildings. And so she's implemented a block of 2 hours a day with our certified staff where kids can come in, whether they're the 2-day partnership or not. We kind of looked at all of our kids, some of our kids who are failing at the worst grade, we're looking at our bottom 20-40% and reaching out to them and saying, hey, you guys need to come in, And we've seen a number, and it's been super successful, where those families, for kids who may never set foot in our building, they're totally virtual at their home, they're coming in and utilizing our staff to improve their grades. So they're not getting that teaching at home or they're trying to do it on their own. They know that it's okay to come in and there's a block time every single day that they can come in and just work on their stuff. Our staff has done a great job with that. So something that we will continue to do. That's just part of the teaching staff work day out there now. It's just you're doing 2 hours of just really working with kids. It's not projects or specific projects. It's whatever the kid needs. And looking at those kids who are, that other 23% of kids who are not passing classes, we're really trying to target those kids. So, up next, we're going to talk a little bit about CFI. Two things that we're going to talk about tonight, and we're going to talk about all these things, but kind of our goals at CFI is our 75% graduation rate. It's something that we've set just internally. We've been around that 60% for the last couple of years, which is amazing compared to where we were probably 5 or 6 years ago. And then how our students are becoming productive citizens. So the two things that we're going to talk about tonight is authentic learning and business partnerships. So I'm going to bring Sarah Taylor, who's our learning coach, up here, and she's going to bring a couple of our students who did a project not too long ago, and she's going to kind of navigate that for them.
Yes. So I spoke with you last year about our business partnerships and how that was going. So I have 2 of our students actually that we're going to just go to the authentic learning piece. They are, this is Aiden. And these students, for the first time ever, decided to take on a project through the Michigan Alternative Education Association. It was a video contest that was due in March, and it's we haven't received any results yet. It's too soon to know, but first place, second place, third place, and honorable mention will be given soon. But they took it upon themselves, just the 2 of them, to really dive into this project. The video had to be 3 to 5 minutes long, and it had to be about your school, and there was a certain theme. It was a poem that they had to adhere to. And they made that, and I did nothing to help with them. They want to show that to you for you today.
Awesome.
So, would you like to say a little bit about why you chose to do this project?
The project was brought up to me to show off the school. I've only been here for this year. I'm a junior this year, and I was behind on a lot of credits. CFI has helped me catch up on freshman and sophomore credits. I'm almost back on track to graduate, and knowing the CFI can help other students and being able to show students that it can help for other schools, that's why I decided to work on the project. I just felt like it would be nice to show that to everybody.
Nice.
And that's already been in marketing.
I was thinking this video could be, I haven't seen it, but.
I just know how to edit and I want to get on some work.
Appreciate your true honesty.
Honestly, it's one of our values.
Yeah.
That's right, love it.
Love that.
So on the next page, there's a link to his video. Oh, I can do it? Okay. Here it
CFI, it's helped me get my classes done because past few years didn't really care that much about them, but it's helped me get my classes done and stay on track to graduate.
It's helped me get my credits up and be able to graduate. Public school before this and I failed everything. And then as soon as I came here, the teachers were actually motivated and actually cared about like you graduating and getting to the goals that you want to get. Helped me get like a new handful of friends and whatnot. It's like, there's not a lot of people here, so I don't really talk to a lot of people, but it's not terrible, it's fine. Helped me recover my credits and graduate.
It's affecting my social life pretty good because past few years just didn't really, only had a small group of friends, didn't really talk to people, but now I'm talking to more people, making more friends, and having a better time.
It's helped with a smaller friend group. With the smaller friend group, I get there and get my work done.
It's made me have real friends instead of just a bunch of fake friends, and friends that actually like support me and stuff.
It has helped me to find my why in life and in my career. I taught for 17 years in general education, and for the first time in my whole career, I feel like I belong somewhere. Well, in terms of teacher social life, it's kind of the outside building of the whole district, so I've lost contact with a lot of past teachers that I used to work with. But I have become closer with the ones I do work with, and we're now a family. We, know each other's sad days, happy days, proud days, and it feels like because we are so close, we help each other out anytime there's stress or kind of need. We get each other's back, and you need that in a setting with kids that also need the same type of help.
CFI brings me back to my roots. When I first started teaching 21 years ago, I was a social studies teacher at an alternative school, so over the last 6 years I've been able to kind of get back into that mindset of helping students who haven't necessarily had a great experience at school or need something different. So social life wise, CFI is just one of the 3 jobs I have in the district. So I'm the athletic director for the district, and I'm also overseeing all the virtual learning. So I spend a lot of time, and there's a lot of days where it's 14 to 16 hour days. So for me, it's trying to balance my time of how much I can do at CFI and how much I can do in the virtual world and how much I can do in athletics. But for social, it's making sure that as times I get to spend with my wife or with friends and family that I cherish those. And I get to really have some cool experiences myself. I love to travel. My wife and I like to go to Caseville and to the beach and stuff like that. So it's really making sure that those times are work free so that I can focus on those things. But when I'm here, I'm all in.
Great job.
Awesome job, guys.
Thank you.
Gage was on a skateboard going up and down, so that's how you get that fluid stream. Nice. So that's just one of the authentic learning pieces. You can see a few of the other pictures up there. We've got the landscape project still happening this year. We have dissections in Mrs. Boyce's room, and we have lots of fun projects. That's a land yacht project where they build their own land yachts, but we've got a war model project coming up soon. So we try and mix that hybrid of the online learning and the project-based learning just to keep engagement and motivation alive there. But moving on to the other facet, I'm going to introduce Mr. Brian Tromley and Autumn Klusky up. Autumn is a graduate last year, and I'm going to let her tell you her story a little bit. Mr. Brian Tromley owns PTL Engineering. He has a location in Dryden here, and we partnered last year when we started the partnership. And I want him to just share his experience with that partnership and what it's done for both of them.
So yes, I'm Brian. I own PTL Engineering. We've got our major location up here in John Connolly. We are an engineering manufacturing company. We specialize in components for the specialty vehicle industry, which is primarily motorhomes, RVs, buses, and specialty vehicles, mobile commanders, mobile buildings. And so Sarah got a hold of me about 2 years ago. An email went out to multiple business people saying, would you like to participate in some type of cooperation and come and just speak to the students on what type of alternative jobs they could have at their disposal when they graduate? So I said, sure. So I came over and spoke. They did end up taking a bus trip out to our driving location and did a walkthrough. We actually had them experience a little bit of welding, a little bit of laser cutting, a little bit of press braking, so we got to actually get some hands-on experience as well. Autumn was one of those people that was there initially.
No, I actually wasn't there.
Oh, you weren't there on the first
No,
trip?
I never went to it.
Okay, so we've had two different groups. The second one coming out. And so Autumn was one of the students that came to me and expressed an interest in computers. And I'll let her talk for a little while and then I'll finish up because she wants to give her testimony. What took place after I said, well, we might be able to give you like a internship, which led to, that lasted about 90 days. Part-time.
I was an intern for 90 days, and they taught me AutoCAD and just kind of showed me the processes of what it would be like to be an engineer. And then he gave me an offer to work full-time with him, and I saw it as a great opportunity.
So yeah, I got to brag on that because I have engineers that have worked for me for 20 years. I myself am an engineer. She is the first engineer at the age of, prior to turning 18 years old, when she came out, she was only 17. At 17 years old, how quickly did you get certified in AutoCAD?
I think it took me maybe 1.5 months.
And then she went on to get certified in SolidWorks, right?
No, it was
Three-dimensional.
Fusion, yes.
Fusion. And so she actually learned quicker and got certified than anybody I had working for me. She actually drew up, designed, and we ran a prototype sample down our line for a customer that we are now starting to produce a regular ongoing product. Hers is the first product to go down the line without any issues. And that's so I say all this to say, really, what we want to do with Sarah is just mentor and help. We told Autumn from day one, if you work 90 days and all we did was help you to understand what it is you want to do. She's now gone out, she's now going to school. You can tell them where.
I'm going to college at Mott Community College, and I'm going to go for the transfer degree, and then I'm going to transfer to Oakland for an electrical engineering degree in mechatronics.
Well, we're really hoping we can convince her to stay on. Because she's very, very valuable to us. But the goal here is truly just to help any way we can to help these kids find what their interests are so they can move on and obtain jobs that are going to be able to take care of them and help the community. And so if she goes on to something else, we're going to get behind her and support her regardless of where she goes. Obviously, we hope she stays with us, but she truly has been a blessing. Sarah, I can't say enough about her. This program that she's running is just incredible. So we're there at your disposal to do whatever you need.
And I want to thank Mr. Tromley here for all that he's done because he's so open to just ideas. Yeah, let's do this. He's just been great. With Autumn, she was finishing classes. What did you finish? 16 classes? 19 classes in one semester to get to the point that she then could take on an internship to be able to take that for 20 hours a week and really figure out what she wanted to do. And that was our goal. It's just career exploration at first. And it really took off into something I never even imagined. And it couldn't have been done without Mr. Tromley really just supporting her goal and just supporting our goal at school. And just, he wants the best for our kids. And that's just amazing. So
I got to say, one of our primary goals here that we haven't conveyed to you yet is, Michigan, Lapeer County in Michigan has one of the larger loss of students ratios. Once they graduate, go on to college, a lot of them leave the state. A lot of them leave the county and a lot of them leave the state. And we want to keep them here. We want to do everything we can to keep them here. So the opportunities, we just got to show them what's available and help them any way we can. So that's the goal. Try to keep as many of them here as we can.
Thank you for being such an invested partner. Not only in the community, our school, but the students.
Our pleasure. It truly is true. Yeah.
Very awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
So here's some of the business. This was the visit last year that took part of down there. So, and this isn't just happening here. We have a young lady who, very much like Autumn, was super far behind 2 years ago, and Sarah was able to set up a ride-along She is a certified EMT and doing amazing things in that regard too. Autumn beat her record of how many classes she needed to pass her senior year. So it was kind of a contest at the beginning of last year to see if she could beat Abby's record. The cool thing about what Abby has done, her and her boyfriend, is they have now invested back into our school. They bring school supplies. They don't have a whole lot of money. It's two young kids trying to make it in the world. They will bring a couple $100 worth of pencils and paper and that kind of stuff into the back of the building every year so that our kids have some of those supplies without even thinking about it. So it's pretty amazing what they do. So just to conclude, this is, if you've been in the CFI building over the last couple years, our kids get stars in their lockers for every class they pass. So lockers like Autumn's is full of stars that they do. Our kids really find it when they pass a class. I mean, they're in Crystal's office picking up the color star they want so they can put it on their lockers. All these stars are from last year's graduating class. It represents every kid that graduated from community high last year. I mean, so when we talk about this program and your guys' support of this program, these kids would not have been able to do this. They would not have been able to walk across the stage, whether it's in the auditorium or a door, without your support, without Mr. Walker's support, everybody's support to these 40-some kids are leaving LCS with a diploma in their hands and are doing amazing things. So, whether it's Autumn, whether it's Amy, whether it's Gabe, they're doing amazing things right now. So thank you so much. So that's the quickest one I've ever had.
That ain't saying much.
27 minutes.
Okay, I take it back. That's pretty good.
Any questions or comments from you?
I love the fact that you're going away from mainstream because there's so many kids, like when we were all going to school, it was just so rigid and we didn't have any other options. And it wasn't the best always thing. So I love the fact that you're like with Autumn, probably not knowing where she wanted to be and then just having something just kind of thrown at her and she took it just like the bull by the horns. I think that's awesome that they have so many more opportunities with that. It's great.
I just want to say, I know it's scary coming up here and presenting to us, but I'm really happy you guys did. It is so exciting and inspiring for us to see you kids flourish, just like you're doing. I gotta say, this is one of my favorite reasons of wanting to be on the board is listening to the kids that come and share with us on what they're doing every day. This is what inspires us to help want to volunteer and lead the district. So really appreciate you guys sharing. Your video was amazing. Autumn, you are doing amazing things. Keep going. You really are building a family, right?
Yeah.
Not just with your staff, but the students, and they're coming back, and it's just amazing what you continue to do with these programs.
We have a great team. It's not me. It's our team. Whether it's an LVP with Michonne and the staff out there, with Sarah and our staff at, from our custodian, to our lunch lady. I mean, it's a welcoming place. Like, people walk in our building, they want to be there, and we get them into the door. We're going to keep them there, but they gotta want to be there. And that's the environment we want them to be. They don't want to leave. Sometimes we have to try to keep them out because they want to stay longer than they can. But they want to be there.
We love the community partner, right? I mean, that's big, that's huge. For them to be able to do that and create those opportunities, because a lot of kids don't know what's really out there.
Well, the cool thing, and I didn't know Anita was presenting that. This, I think, is just the next segue of what she presented. I mean, you need to go and speak to the kids about this. Now, the next step is they're doing it.
Yeah.
And we have so many more things coming up with going to Mission Careers. Yeah, we have our adulting day. We do an adulting day where we bring people in and show them how to do their taxes or how to change oils in their car, EMS. I mean, so we're doing a lot of what Anita got to do with her stuff, but now it's applicable, right? The kids are looking at it as a career choice, a career opportunity within our own community. So I mean, it's really coming full circle. So it's really cool to watch these kids go through the very beginning of what we get to see the end product of.
Yeah.
Well, and it speaks to the district of choices is not just a tagline. It means something. Brian, I'm really interested in how do we amplify your experience with this partnership to your colleagues in the area. this concept, right? Especially in, some of the industrial, this is an industrial heavy area. People think, well, here's a farming community. It's not. I mean, not to the degree it used to be, right? And businesses like yours represent a far larger percentage of the workforce than I think people realize. What I hear from people that do what you do is the old programs that they used to rely on as a source of talent from the college levels are completely drying up. They used to go to Ferris and grab, CAD grads and all that stuff, and the well now is, the tree is high schools. It's here. Because if we don't get them before they make that decision about post-secondary education, they're just wandering the world, getting, unfortunately, some not so usable degrees, tons of debt, no usable skills, and still not really in something that can earn a living. So, I think I'd like, we'll talk after this, but, I'd love to have 4 or 5 of you in this room, because there's too many kids that if they knew what they wanted to do earlier, the relevance of school gets them through sometimes some of the drudgery, where, let's be honest, there's just certain kids that do not fit the traditional model, and we have to expand these programs, not be a one-off or alternative. Good stuff.
Very good stuff.
Thanks, Shad.
Thank you. Okay, we will switch over to our public comment for this evening. I will just read a quick little statement. A board meeting is a meeting of school district business held in public. It is not a public meeting.
Gage wanted to apologize. He didn't think he was going to do that loud.
The board is not going to respond to those making public comment. We'll direct the superintendent to follow up with the presenter. 30 minutes is set aside for public comments, so each presenter is being asked to keep their comments brief. The board does not comment in public on any student or employee and ask the presenter to be as special as any person they comment about. Jan 1.
This is pretty nice digs. When I was on the board, we were just around the table.
15 years, J-Dub. Finally got here.
We knew you were coming tonight, and we're like, what can we share with her? New digs.
New digs. Again, I'm Jan Watts, and this is Susan Beal. And we are the official pass holders to a couple of places at CFI. I don't know how much you know about the Friends of the Library and our new home. Started off as kind of a concept a couple years ago. I got a whole map, and it was in the middle of the bond stuff, and knew that Pier West was part of it was going to be not used or maybe taken down. So I kind of hinted that, are you going to have any room there? Or maybe somebody else?
You didn't kind of. We'll take 6 rooms.
We looked at that. So Matt and I and Jared took a little field trip over there and met, and we got a really good response that maybe there was a way for the Friends of the D'Angeli Library to set up shop in that building. And we said, we could be a library to students who are here, but more so, we were the Friends of the Library, do book sales and things for the community. About a year ago, after I would call Matt about every other week and say, okay, what's going on here? And he would say, you're still okay. We had selected a couple of rooms. Yes, we wanted more, but that's okay. I nagged him every once in a while, and by the time they were done with the renovation, and they had to move the office, and while they were doing the new office and all of those sorts of things, we moved into that building in June of last year, which was very exciting. You've heard from the CFI students. We love being there. We love those students, we love those teachers, And we feel we're part of their family, almost. Friends of the Library have been doing book sale for over 50 years here in this community. And when I first did my first book sale, we carried all of the tables across the street from Bishop Kelly's school to the library lawn, set up a book sale, ran it for a day. At the end of the day, we took all the books away and carried all the tables back. We have come a long way. And we have for years wanted a place that we could call home, where we could receive donations of books, where we could sort books, we could shelve books, and we could sell them all in one place and stop moving stuff around. There were years when we'd have book sales on the library lawn where we transported, well actually it was Strike Zone Robotics team, transported between 400 and 500 banana boxes of books to the lawn. And we'd set it up and we break it down and we kind of go from there. So we kind of figure we've come a long way. But we've always, since we've been there from the very beginning, we've wanted to give back to the schools for allowing us to be there. And we have found a few little ways. We're always looking for new ways. But this year, we've been able, first thing we did was put out some, and I'm going to take more than 5 minutes. Do I have a clock on me?
Well, I interrupted you.
We put books, young adult books, out in a book cart, right outside one of our doors. Signs saying, take what you want. Take them and bring them back. Take them and take them home. Whatever you'd like to do. So that was our first attempt. Then, the day before spring break of this year, we had what we called an open house for students. Had a big sign out in front of our sale room, and we invited all the students all day, come and go, as teachers would let them come and go, lunchroom, before school, after school, to come and take what they wanted. Now, most of them took music CDs and DVDs, but that's okay. Some of them took books. I remember a young man walking out and he said, I found 3 books on the Civil War. And it was like he was so excited. And he said, so do we have to bring these back? I said, no, they're yours. You can bring them back if you want. We'll recycle them. But we've not seen any of them back yet. But it's early. And then we made a connection with Michelle's curriculum office because the library, they read their World Book encyclopedias on a yearly basis. And so we came, over the last 3 years, we've come across 4 relatively new sets of World Book encyclopedias. Called Michelle's office, said, 4 elementary schools, would you like these books? Because we knew we weren't going to sell them in a sale. And so she talked to people, and they got together and said, and so sometime, hopefully maybe next week, we're going to have somebody from the Pierre Community Schools that'll come out to CFI and take these 4 sets of World Books encyclopedias for the 4 libraries. I think the word was, we have encyclopedias, but they may not be this new for the school. So we're really excited about that. So we're always thinking of ways if we can help the schools. The staff has been absolutely wonderful to work with there. In fact, I hate to tell you this, man. You and Jared and Matt, for quite a long time, were my best friends. Now it's Shad.
Oh, that's not going to be good for you, Jan. That's not going to be good for you. Go ahead, Jan.
It's now Crystal, the secretary. It's now Julie, the custodian, who has been wonderful.
Everybody likes Julie more than me, Jan. That's shocking.
And then all the students there, they help us. They always ask us, is there something we can help you with, or whatever. So it's a delight. I would love to be there forever. Maybe we won't be, but we'll take it however we can do it. And we want to thank you for allowing us to be there. And as we when the ladies get a little older, lugging boxes of books is not what we want to do. So again, thank you. That's what we'd like to say. We thought about when we saw these things up on the screen, could have brought you some pictures of some of them. Yeah, I'm not sure you'd want to see. I'm not sure you'd want to see it, but we, again, thank you. And as I said, Susan and I are the pass holders, and somebody actually called us the other day, we are the responsible parties for what our group does in that building. That's very scary. And I would love to stay for the bus bids, but I did enough of that.
Okay, I think that's it for public comment this evening. So we'll go into presentations. I will turn it over to you, Superintendent Laundrie.
Thank you. Julia from Barton Mallow is here to give us a brief update.
I mean, I feel unprepared. I didn't bring any kids. I didn't bring anyone to pass it on to. I mean, it's just me.
No interns?
No interns, no.
We got that.
Okay, that can be.
Good start.
It's a start. Okay, so we will start kicking it off with a bond timeline. Kind of is what we kind of kick off most of these with. So as you can see, we're kind of in that going into spring of 2025. I'll be touching on the high school classroom addition. As you can see on here, construction's technically supposed to go into the fall, but we are actually ahead of schedule on that project, which I'll dive into in a few slides upcoming. And then construction starting at both the high school for the auditorium and the interior. I'll do a deep dive on all of those projects that we have going on there. And then really just want to take a second to just show you guys, like visually, we are over halfway through the bond. I mean, we have 2 summers under our belt, we got 2 more summers, and then, I mean, we're done. So it's really flown by. We've done a lot of work in a small period of time, and we still got a lot to go. So it's been an exciting time. Before I dive into the current projects, I just kind of want to take a step back and reflect on some of the recent projects that we've completed. So kicking it off with the Memorial Day back in early January, where we did the ribbon cutting for the elementary gym additions. So it was a great time for staff, students, board members, and Barton Mallow to kind of take in and celebrate the accomplishment of giving the students at Murphy and Schickler and Turl a designated gym space. I've seen firsthand how these gym spaces are loved not only by the students, but also by the staffs in these buildings. So we're truly proud of the first set of additions that we've accomplished in the bond project, and we are excited for the staff there to be able to utilize these spaces and love the way that
Julia? You thought you were going to sneak that in there, didn't you?
I did not do that picture.
Of all the pictures, that's the one you picked?
That is my co-pilot for this presentation, Matt.
I love it.
It just shows the excitement.
Yeah. I mean, do you see you're actually shooting basketball in one too?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Oh, the turtle one.
Good job. My marketing girl did a great job.
Yeah. Good form.
We left that picture off for you minutes.
Next slide.
You got it.
Good words.
Oh, nice.
Okay, as I mentioned earlier, according to that bond timeline, the high school classroom additions, which included these 2 spaces, was actually supposed to still be under construction until the fall. However, the multi-purpose space and weight room were able to be completed early. Lapeer High School staff and students have been utilizing both the multi-purpose space and weight room since about early February. As a quick recap, the multi-purpose space was roughly a 3,500 square foot addition, and then the existing weight room received roughly 1,000 square foot addition onto that. So in addition, the existing weight room was able to get new flooring, new paint, new lights to kind of take what we did in the addition and kind of make it one cohesive space. So one cool thing that I've heard about the new weight room space is that when you're in the addition and you're working out, it feels like you're in a space all by yourself. Even though with those fire doors up,
you're part of the whole entire weight room, but it feels like you're in your own little space and can just zone in and work out. So that was really cool to hear. Both spaces are very impressive to see in person and just adds so much both for current and future students and athletics for this school here.
We are still working on a ribbon cutting official ceremony date for those spaces forthcoming.
Second part of the high school addition included a 10,500 square foot science classroom addition. So that was 2 science labs and then 2 general science classrooms. And then there is a storage area that kind of in between all 4 that they can utilize. As you can see with these construction photos, we're pretty much have the finishes in and nearly completed with these spaces already. Construction-wise, we're finishing up test and balance on new mechanical equipment, have some miscellaneous plumbing and electrical that needs to be done so that we can get final inspection in there. And then once final inspection's done, furniture, and then the grade reconfiguration in August. So that is ahead of schedule and
Julie, explain the difference in those 2 classrooms, because science, biology, physical science, why the one looks empty.
Yes, yeah, that's the more general science instead of the science lab one. So. Okay, now to dive into the next big package that we have, which is Big Pack 6. So that encompasses the PAC addition, the auditorium renovations, parking lots at the high school, Schickler parking lot, and then also some interior renovations at the high school. So here's some quick stats as far as the interior work that will be going on inside the high school. So we're going to be doing new ceiling grid lights in all the corridors, which includes the cafeteria, and that adds up to roughly 36,000 square feet worth of ceilings being replaced, and then that will be more than 240 new LED lights put throughout the corridors. Then we are upgrading the entire fire alarm system. That will include voice messages, so when it goes off, it will speak to the students as well. And then that includes a total of 468 fire alarm devices spread out throughout the entire high school. As mentioned in previous board meetings, the fire suppression heads that are currently at the high school were at their end of life, which was about 50 years. So we are doing a full fire suppression head replacement, which amounts to just over 1,400 head replacement throughout the entire building. We are adding 2 classrooms into the media center, and then also there are 10 classrooms that have the old operable partition in between them. We are removing that and putting a stud drywall wall up for those classrooms as well. Locker room renovations, we are working at accomplishing the goal of having separate JV and varsity locker rooms with the square footage space that we have. So we're kind of working through what that looks like and how we can get that accomplished. And then the new parking lot and bus loop, I'm going to dive into that a little bit deeper in some upcoming slides. So spring break, while staff and students were enjoying a week off school, we decided that we were going to take the opportunity to get some jump start on some construction. So there is a before and after photo. We ended up doing roughly 500 square feet of ceiling grid replacement. That included the ceiling, the grid, lights, diffusers, and fire suppression. So we kind of did 2 long corridors and then 1 small one connecting that we were able to.
The pictures don't do it justice.
No, they do not.
The lighting is unbelievable.
The lighting is so much brighter, not having the lights recessed into the ceiling with the grid kind of pointed up to it. It brings out the space, and then really, once we get those lockers painted down those corridors, it's
like a runway now, right, Shannon?
Yeah, it's going to be completely different.
I was joking we could do surgery in the hall.
Yeah, it's a completely different space now.
We're already special heads in and everything.
Yeah, we were able to get roughly 40% of the fire suppression heads swapped out. So the majority of them, when it comes to the ceilings in the corridors, they've got to rework them a little bit left and right based on the new 2x2 ceiling grid instead of 2x4. But the rest of them are just a 1-for-1 replacement, so they're a semi-concealed head. So they were able to get, 40% as close to 600 heads replaced during spring break.
Plus the zoning of the system.
Right. Plus they were able to get the bells for the different zones. That way when we go in like the upcoming Easter break, they can just shut off that section and then replace the heads there and not have to wait and drain the whole entire system and then refill the whole entire system. And when they do that, they end up setting off a fire alarm, and the fire alarm goes off until we refill the system. So that definitely helped. And then also the classrooms that we're adding in the media center, we were able to get the ceiling lights removed in there during spring break. And then we have the construction barriers in place. So starting next week after testing is done, we'll start working on actually putting up the walls for that new classroom and kind of pull that work ahead.
And kudos to Martin Mello and the high school staff and our operations department working together to get some of these projects up and going in the spring. While we still have students and staff in the building, it's going to allow us to, we've got a really tight timeline this year to get all this work done to open on time in the fall. So a lot of logistics, a lot of planning to do that. So much thanks.
Bathroom. So as we kind of did at the elementary school, the high school, student bathrooms are getting a full makeover. So the 4 sets of student bathrooms are going to get new partitions, new bathroom accessories, new toilets, new sinks, and then one thing different is the high school is getting new ceramic tile on the walls. So the top future photo is the large sandstone ceramic tile that will be located on all the walls except for what would be considered like the front wall, like where the sinks and the mirrors are going to be. And that wall is going to get what the bottom future picture shows, and that is a ceramic tile, but it's got the wood grain look in it where you would think it's a wall. You would think it's a wooden wall, but it's ceramic tile. It's going to look really cool when it's up. And then, as you can see in the current photos, we have started construction. I promise all bathrooms at the high school do not look like this. We only took over the ones in the auditorium. So we were able to pull those ahead. We worked with the staff at the high school. Those don't get utilized as much. So we took over those probably about a week before spring break. And we're currently getting the plumbing underground reworked to accommodate the handicap spaces that we're putting into those bathrooms. And then following that, we will get the inspection on that so that we can cover up that plumbing, get the terrazzo infill done, and then work on the tile on the walls. So that one should be progressing quite well. Okay, so the civil work that's going on at the high school, so this picture here kind of gives you a visual of the new bus loop and parking lot in comparison with the new construction that we've done. So the green spot there will be the new PAC addition. The blue is the science labs, and then the gray off to the corner is the multi-purpose space. So with adding this bus loop in the parking spot, it's going to add roughly 120 parking spaces that will accommodate special events, whether that's sporting events or whether that's, the auditorium, and that will give more parking spaces to be utilized there. And then with the bus loop and the students moving to getting dropped off on the back end of the school, they're going to enter through the cafeteria doors instead of the front of the school now. So that will be the new drop-off for the 2025-26 school year. And if you haven't been to the north end, haven't been to the high school lately, so this construction started also in February. The contractor is roughly 50% complete with the underground detention. And if you see the kind of cross hatches in that parking lot area, that's where the water detention system is. So they're about 50% completed there. And now that frost laws are off, we're able to get more stone and kind of really get that project going. This summer, we will also be doing a complete tear out and replacement of the north parking lot. That will include the drive by the warehouse. So that will be taken over and completely redone, striped, and the north lot and this bus loop will be completed for the first day of school. Okay, probably the most anticipated project The whole entire bond is finally happening this summer. So the Schickler driveway is being widened to accommodate 3 lanes. So I've got here highlighted the new entrance and then the parent drop-off, bus/parent drop-off area. So as you can see in the new entrance, obviously you see the 3 lanes at the end, but you'll have 1 lane in, and as you move down, it'll widen, and then you'll have the bus in 1 lane, and then you'll have the parents in the other. That way it separates the 2 traffic going in. And then it does the opposite as you're going out. It'll be a 1 lane when you're heading out, and then it'll split. That way you have 2 lanes to turn to kind of help with that traffic that gets funneled up there. The bus parent drop-off shows the continual split of traffic. And then it shows that 1 way. So we'll continue to keep the buses and the parents in separate lanes with the 3 lanes throughout the whole entire, except for when they come out. This change should help the traffic struggles and most of all create a very smoother path down to Schickler. For staff, parents, and bus drivers, we'll be so excited to have this done.
Mr. Andre, can we give a shout out to the ISD who, if you go back to that slide, please,
Give us a little.
who worked with us to give us some leeway on the right-hand side of that left drawing so we could have the curved in, wide driveway to get our buses in, because anyone who's familiar with the bus, it's got a tail swipe, and if we had a normal turn, we would congest that normal 3 lanes. So they gave us some of their property there to do that, so thank them for that.
The next big project for Mid-Pac 6 is all the work associated with the auditorium. So here's the renditions of the interior, which is a 3,700 square foot lobby addition for the auditorium. I'm actually right outside the board meeting. You've got the exterior renditions and also the interior. So as you can see, the design has incorporated the original 1923 Lapeer High School sign that will be a showpiece when you come into this lobby area. We are hoping to break ground on this project and start working on the building pad before the end of the month. Hopefully, weather permitting, we'll be able to start pouring some footings as long as we get temperatures staying up above 40, I believe, overnight. So hopefully the weather starts cooperating and we can start breaking ground on this, and we'll have definitely a lot going on at the high school.
Yeah, and it's snowing tonight. Good luck.
So, and not today, but maybe next week. Okay, and then the auditorium, inside the auditorium. So we've got some before and some current photos. So construction officially kicked off in the existing auditorium in about mid-February. So this just gives you a little glimpse of kind of what we were at before we touched it, where we were at, and honestly these photos don't incorporate what was done over spring break. So as all great projects, it looks like a mess right now, but we'll slowly start getting everything pieced together and start making it look like an auditorium again. Demolition's roughly 85% complete right now. We'll finish within the next couple of weeks. In the bottom right, you can see those 4 trenches down the center. So those are for the floor boxes that will power the new lights on the seating. And so those floor boxes are actually in, and the concrete has been poured for those. And the orchestra pit is poured, so that is concrete now. We have the footings are poured for the new ramp that's going to go up to the stage, and we started block on that today. So that part is coming together, and then with the new layout of the auditorium, we will accommodate an updated total of 509 seats. So when this project's complete, it's going to obviously look like a brand new auditorium, and I think this is going to be one of my favorite projects of just continually to showcase every step of the way, and at the end you can really see where we started, the whole construction process to the final piece when we open it. Questions?
I love how you're pulling in when you can and squeezing all the projects, because the summer's gonna be coming.
Yes,
So,
yes. We are very appreciative to the staff at the high school for accommodating, being able to pull some of these projects ahead. And being able to work with us and, shift a teacher over if we could, take down that temporary wall and we could build a drywall wall, we could put them right back in there, or take over the section of the media center and just, put up some walls and kind of turn it over. So it's been, it's a huge, to get a jump start on everything that we have going on.
Just a big undertaking.
Oh, yes. It's a big project for sure. But we'll be ready for every configuration for safe school.
I heard it,
We'll be ready. I haven't failed you guys yet.
Not yet.
Not
I
yet.
don't want you to either.
Messed up with that picture, but that's only you failed me.
I did that on purpose.
That was a great picture, that was perfect.
All in
Winner.
favor of the pictures say
Meeting adjourned. It's the second time I've had to adjourn this meeting. Thanks, Julia.
Thank you. Next, we have our second presentation of the evening.
Yes, so to present our math and ELA pilot process will be Mrs. Bradford. Michelle, take it away. The floor is yours.
Yes, I have two teachers with me, so I'm bringing people too.
Way to go, Julia. What do you want to be when you grow up?
My mom has a picture of me in second grade in a really weird dress that said, I want to be an elementary teacher.
Dreams do come true, Jen.
Yeah, that's right.
So Jen is our new teacher coach for the district, and Shannon teaches English at the high school. And today's presentations are about the K4 math pilot recommendation and the 712 ELA pilot recommendation. Two very large pilots in 1 year. They graciously come to answer kind of your questions that I couldn't. And poor Jen's daughter is in the car right now, so we're going to try to keep
She's
this
okay,
moving.
she's 16.
Okay.
I was like, you can come and she goes, I'm living my best life. I'm like,
Come in and watch Mom present or sit
When
in the
the
car
car
for
the car's
3
running,
hours.
she'll be asleep.
she's fine. I know she's fine.
A book, though.
Right.
Not the phone, a book. I love
She got her new book came in the mail yesterday, so she's content.
No, maybe it was a book out of
So I've given you the scoring guides. There's a lot of work that went into both of these pilots. A timeline is started in June when we were last May trying to identify products. That's going to be part of this presentation, but I will speak to that while we're getting it. For the K4, as you know, last year we adopted 5.8, and this year we're going to be presenting you with 2 products with a math, another book.
You go.
Oh, I know.
Great.
I'll just tell you about the whole thing because I've talked about it. We've talked about it for months. So K4, we pilot 2 products, Bridges and Envision. Envision is what we adopted for 5.8. And I'm just going to skip to our recommendation. Envision is what we're recommending tonight. And we'll go through the reasons why. We identified those 2 products based on the mathematical practices that's embedded in the standards, obviously the standards, and the differentiation components and all the required components in what you have on your hand are all the requirements that are part of our guidelines. Per board policy, we have board policy for adoption, that's why we're presenting to you. And then those are our guidelines that we take the committee through, and we've met monthly. We provide trainers for them on both products. So anyway, that's K4. 712, we identified 2 products based on the disciplinary literacies essentials that you hear about for our instructional rounds. Those are best practices for secondary disciplinary literacy, and with the English focus or ELA focus, we use those essentials to identify 2 products to pilot. One was Common Lit, that was an online component only, completely different than we've ever piloted before. but when the presenter presented to us, the stories, they really aligned to those essential practices, but it wasn't a typical pilot that we've ever piloted. The other one was a traditional, but with textbooks and novels and just more of what we're used to piloting, and that was
So that's my perspective.
my perspective. Thank you. All right, so I just went through 5 slides. Your role today is to weigh in on our decision. This is board policy, suitability for the maturity level, freedom from bias, relationship to the curriculum adopted by the board, relationship to continuous multi-grade program, impact on our standards, the manner of selection, what you have in front of you, and the work that the committees have done, the costs and appearance, and durability. Our identified needs, why we even piloted the K-4 and math and 7-12. Our current contract expired on both of them. The textbooks are no longer published on both of them. Data indicates a need for updated curriculum, and as I mentioned, the math, we've already adopted the 5-8 math adoption, so we had to look at K-4, and I forgot to mention the high school. We have new math from a couple years ago. And as it pertains to ELA, we have the K-6 ELA resources are aligned now. So this is the first year I think we're going to be that I've ever been even in my position and even as a teacher. So this is exciting.
How many decades does that span?
That's a long time.
Where's that picture?
Hey, no! That's okay. I love it. Okay, so what you have in your hand are the guidelines and all of the components that they scored. Each text is rated a scale from 1 to 5, 1 being unsatisfactory to 5 being outstanding in all of the components. Physical format, diction and style, adaptability, content, utility, and authorship. What I also want to say to you about the forms that you have, it's very messy, but that's all of our committee work. Every time we met, we would put notes, and T1 means the first textbook that we piloted, T2 is the other. I had it color coordinated. I had one coach say, get rid of the color. I'm very color coordinated. They won't, so there's no colors, but just so you know, it really is our living work throughout every time we met, and to talk about each one of those components. I already spoke to why we picked the 2 resources with the mathematical practices and the disciplinary literacy essentials. I talked about the 2 products that we piloted, and you have that in your hand. So now to the nitty gritty and why we've asked Jenna and Shannon to be here if you have any questions. The math strengths for Envision. Oh, I have to tell a story about this. I think it was one of your weekenders. We started with Envision, and we had always with the pilot there's called an instructional dip, or where the teachers get frustrated. We had mostly, I think, our kindergarten and our first grade teachers were frustrated. Everyone else was like, this is great. And we identified why that was, and why the Envision, the people, the representatives that provide PD, they swooped in and came in, and we did some labs with some trainers. The teachers got to see each other struggle with why this was a struggle. And I don't know, can you speak to first grade and kindergarten?
Just going to look here, sorry. So kindergarten and first grade are like, this is horrible. We can't do this. This is way different than we're used to. So we contacted our representatives, and they said, okay, let's set up a lab classroom. And so we did a K1 lab, a 2-3 lab, and we brought in our 4th and our 5th grade because they're all jumping into it now, right? They're already doing it. So we thought it would be helpful for them too. We have different representatives for each grade level from Savas, and they we had their teachers teach it, they co-taught with our teachers, they jumped in and taught a lesson all on their own. Whatever we asked them to do, they were game, they were doing it. We had teachers watching, our own pilot teachers who felt like they were struggling, and our teachers were walking away going, what do you mean they're struggling? They did so great, that was so awesome. That had that in there, I didn't even know that was there. So we had veteran teachers watching brand new teachers piloting, and were blown away by it. And after they got to watch the lab and the people coming in and getting to talk through it and work it out, there was just like a whole shift. Yeah, it was a turning point, a whole shift. And the teachers thinking, and they were so excited and didn't actually want to switch over to the next one. They were like, what do you mean we have to stop? They loved it. So it went from, why do we have to keep doing this to, we don't want to stop doing this.
Well, what ended up being a struggle really ended up as a strength of it teaches up. And it's rigorous, it has a lot of number sense, there's differentiation pieces, so there's extension activities, and so they were able to learn from each other, but found that their kids were doing more than they ever have at that time of the year. Then we went to, so in Bridges, positives, they have a number corner, it's not part of Bridges, but it's another
component, yeah.
They do like the number corner. It's similar to the presentation that we talked about that you liked about the number talk, that it's embedded in that classroom. And I think that's where that wasn't meeting your needs. And then the Bridges strengths were building the foundational skills with games. Very similar to what we are using now with investigations, the hands-on games. As it pertains to weaknesses, the weakness was really the struggle that I was talking about, where teachers had to tier the direct instruction for the struggling readers because it is rigorous, but ended up being, they found that it was actually a strength, because when they went to Bridges, I got several calls in the first, it was after the first, it was within the first month, but we had to pilot for a certain amount of time. And then they were like, please, can we go back to Envision? My kids aren't getting what they did when we had Envision. So that's when I sent you the survey results and said, okay, can we go back to Envision? So anyway, the Bridges weaknesses over the Envision really came through. And I thank you guys all for that. So when it comes to the scoring that you have, Envision scored a total of 213 compared to Bridges 74. So it's a no-brainer for a recommendation. It is about $9,000 more in price. So that's my recommendation to the board. As it pertains to 712 ELA, this, like I said, we have never done just an online platform for a pilot. So the strengths for Common Lit, which is online physical format, that it was general attractiveness, followed an organized structure, easy to navigate. That's what we kept hearing from teachers, that this is easy, this is easy. Students could find resources easily online, probably because it's tailored to an online product. My perspectives, we met several times too. This is a very large pilot it was part of RW, Zemmer, and the high school. And that's a lot of people involved. So these were the comments that are also documented in the work that you have in your hand, and it's a physical format. But this product isn't even comparable to Common Lit because it has the book, it has there's a novel that's going to come with it, and the differentiation pieces. Which Jen, can you speak to the AI components that you talked about?
So in the zillion years that I've been teaching, even before the buildings merged over at West, we had some little pilots periodically with different companies. If this grade level can answer this prompt using AI, and the things were always, if a kid writes long, high scores. And we tried that a few different times when people asked us to. But the AI writing responses with the My Perspectives pilot in addition to giving kids traits of writing scores. So instead of, high, medium, low, or whatever, it has a score for each of the traits of writing, and then the kid can click on the writing trait, and then there's a 6-point rubric for, the kid's barely written anything, and then at a 1, but up to a 6, and it'll give an example of a different prompt than what the student responded to, but the same type of writing. So our kids, the 10th graders, did an argument, and so in the traits of writing areas, there would be scores from 1 to 4, and initially a lot of the kids had, 1s, but then they could just click on the show me an example, and then you could say, okay, a 1 example or a 6 example for what you're shooting for, and next to that example, it would give the, in green, you're doing these things well, or in red, work on this, that, or the other thing. And again, it wasn't for the kids' exact writing, it was the same type of writing. So it was a different response, but it's not telling me, hey, write this and you'll be fine. But also, it had, and I would say to the kids, so click on that, and I said, that's every poster or handout your English teacher has ever given or had on a wall related to that specific area. And it's right, kids could just have different tabs, you open up tabs up on the top, or as they're looking at, here's my writing on this side, and here's the part that relates to using evidence. And they could, go and, okay, I have all 3s and 4s. Am I done? I don't know, does it feel like you're done? And if it has all 4s, does that mean I get an A? Well, okay, that's the computer saying that. I'd like to use this more than one time before I say, it's not doing my job. But they could work whenever they felt like it, whether it was in class or at home, and have that, 24/7 feedback instantaneously. So that was a really cool aspect that, the kids mentioned, and, the teachers who tried that part of it, that we really liked. And again, it's new, but it certainly has potential. And what I did with my kids is they were working on drafts in the My Perspectives platform, but then I had them copy and paste onto a Google Doc, and post it in Google Classroom where they have the same rubric, on the grade side, and then, I would just put the grade in that way, and, they'd have a number score, and, they're pretty satisfied with what they're doing, and that's always a good thing. Depending on how much effort they're making in each of the areas, they're seeing some growth. And if they're not, they're like, okay, come here, I did this, and I did this, and I, haven't moved from 2 to 3. What's going on? Okay, let's see what you have. Okay, well, did you think about whatever? And I could pull up those same, clicks that are right on the computer page. Well, this says this. Did you address that? Well, right here, okay, that's a reason. That's not evidence. And so we go into what are the best types of evidence. And so you get to have a conversation right then when the kid needed it. And there's nothing like that in the Common Lit. So one thing we really liked was that the AI, components we're talking about, good uses. So showing an example of the same type of writing with traits of writing feedback, broken up, it's pretty powerful. So, yeah, it is really awesome. Did you want me to say the other thing I liked about it that wasn't related to that? Okay, so the other thing is every single unit is structured the same way. A lot of the textbooks will have this thematic question or whatever, but within that, there's whole group learning, just so we have that. Everybody, we're all together, to smaller group, and then independent. And the kids are working on specific skills. So I tell them, so this whole group learning, this is what we're working on. You need to prep something to say related to whatever the thing, said, hey, we're working on this. So before we have a conversation, you need to have something to say. So whether it was an annotation or responding to a question or whatever. And then in the peer group, I made it clear that you guys are making meaning. Okay, we talked about good habits to have, and then I haven't gotten to the independent part yet, but it looks pretty sweet. And right now with peer group, it's pretty funny. Some of them, even though they, most of the time get to pick kids to work with, some of them are pretty reticent to share, but, you know, as I'm reiterating that this, you guys are making meaning. Like if there's, you know, a complete loss, obviously I step in, but it's not ask me rather than the people at your table. And you know, sophomores still do that a lot.
That gets to the instructional practices that's so key with.
Yeah, that release. I mean, they have to go. I am not a teacher who allows the kids to do what I want. Okay, you are not doing this for me. You are making meaning. You are creating some content. It's not, you know, check my list and whatever. It's you're figuring something out. It's going to look different for so many of you.
Awesome.
Those are the things we like.
And then as far as the weaknesses, Common Lit, it was a quality printing. We had to do a lot of copy and pasting. The content was repetitive. But again, it was only an online product, more like a subscription than a real resource. So you can see there's a list that you have the notes to. So again, my perspectives outscored Common Lit, but this is quite a bit different of cost because one isn't digital and they charge for 2 schools, kind of like a subscription, and this was a real resource with the consumables. Actually, we started at a price that I would not accept, and where it was a consumable for each student for every grade level. We tried to bring that down, and we took the PD out of it, but we took the cost down almost $100,000. It was $383 when we first started, and after 4 quotes down, what we decided on is hardcovers for 9, 10, 11, and 12. So that took down the shipping cost. So they'll have a class set, each teacher, because let's face it, they're not taking their big consumables home at that grade level.
I have another thing related to that. One of the weaknesses from my perspectives, I mean, they're big books. I mean, I don't know if you have high school kids, but the consumable English books are huge. And no matter the size, we still don't have enough room for them to answer a lot of the questions in the textbook. So we're thinking, okay, so we can assign anything we want them to annotate. If we want them to annotate a hard copy, we could just send that to the printer. And in Common Lit, a lot of the printing that we did, if we wanted kids to annotate, you know, what are you thinking, color code or whatever, we had to copy and paste boxes. Like there were so many ridiculous hoops to jump through to get some of the things on a page. But with my perspectives, we can assign in Google Classroom and kids can highlight and underline online and we can look at what they're doing, or we can print a hard copy that's very easy, accurate, and spaced in the margins to write. And then when you get to the questions, we could either do the questions in the Google Classroom platform, or we can have the kids use writer's notebooks, and so it'll be up to the teacher. If I want, my kids to hold everything from Unit 1 in this one spiral, the kids will just respond to text by text or whatever, and have it all in one place, or you can just have them do it online.
Which we've used notebooks forever.
Yeah. So, I mean,
so with that, I wanted to make sure that you knew with that price difference. My perspectives is about, we figured $28 per student, and that's very in line with previous pilots that we've purchased. So just to have that for your reference. So we are recommending my perspectives for 7, 12, and 2 recommendations from us for math and ELA.
Any questions?
Sounds good.
Sounds like my perspective is got a lot of excitement, so.
Shannon can't wait for the next 15 to 20 years to teach. We support you.
I told her obviously my husband.
If you have any questions, let me know.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay, that wraps up our presentations for tonight. Let's head into our committee reports. Dr. Watson, will you please share with us the Finance and Operations Committee?
Certainly. March 21st, we met at 2 p.m. via Zoom. Members, President, myself, Summer Putnam, and Lisa Novak. No one missing. Others attending was Matt Wandry, Erica Ingalls, Mark Rader, Brian Batter, Julia Peruski from Barton Mallow, and Mary Moss. Meeting called to order at 2. We discussed bus bids. Erica Ingalls reviewed a bus purchase recommendation for the 25-26 school year from Transportation Director Linda Thompson. She is recommending going with Hoekstra Transportation to purchase 2 used buses. Hoekstra provided a full package that contains 2 53-passenger special needs buses, 2022, with less than 45,000 miles at a cost of $89,895 each. This meets all of our requirements and specs that we were asking for, with a total bid of $179,790. It was the consensus of the committee that the board approved the bid for 2 buses at a cost not to exceed $179,790. The bus bids will be placed on tonight's agenda for board to consider for approval. Turl asbestos abatement. Joe Wood reviewed the asbestos abatement bid from Nova Environmental Inc. for asbestos removal at Turl in the amount of $41,680. The materials to be removed include, but are not limited to, ceiling panels and the associated grid and lighting fixtures. It was the consensus of the committee that the board approved the bid from Nova Environmental Inc. for asbestos removal at Turl at a cost not to exceed $41,680. The bid will be placed on tonight's agenda for approval. Filter first update. Joe would explain that state laws mandate that all school buildings require 1 filtered water station per 100 students with a completion date of December 26th. He stated that we have applied for and were awarded a grant which would cover the entire project. He will provide an update to the full board at the July organizational meeting. Bond change order number 23, bid pack 5.1. LHS additional auditorium risers. Barton Mallow recommends the issuance of a change order to Absolute Fire Protection Inc. to provide and install new risers for the auditorium at Lapeer High School in an amount not to exceed $126,437.13. This change included running 2 new risers from the fire suppression main to the lobby area of the existing auditorium to serve the stage area and auditorium addition. This was required to be completed for bid pack 06 work. However, it was completed ahead of schedule and completed during summer of 2024. The reason this was completed early is because it provided us with an opportunity to save money with the installation due to equipment already being on site and ceilings already open for contract work associated with the science labs. The installation of these risers provides a small jump start on fire suppression for the auditorium addition and renovations. It was the consensus of the committee to recommend full board approval on change order number 23 at tonight's board meeting. And finally, the food service update. Food services contracts are regulated by the state of Michigan and must go out for bid every 5 years, which we did in 2020 and renew them annually. Erica Ingalls explained that we have initiated the bid process with 7 companies coming to the bid meeting. All bids are due by March 27th, 2025 by noon. The designated committee will review all proposals and present a recommendation at a future F&O meeting, and then we adjourned at 2:37.
Okay, any questions or comments? Thank you, Dr. Watson. Next, Mrs. McKenna, will you please share with us the Personnel Committee report?
Personnel Committee met March 21st, 2025 at 3:15 p.m. Present was myself, April Lavar, and Summer Putnam. Others attending Matt Wandry, Kim Seeferly, Erica Inglis, and Mary Moss. Bargaining update. Kim Seeferly updated the committee on the 5 open contracts within our bargaining units. These contracts will all expire on June 30th, 2025. AFSCME custodians, LEA teachers, LSD AA building administrators, LTA bus drivers, and SEIU mechanics. In addition, Erica Ingalls reviewed the general fund 5-year budget projection with the committee. Superintendent evaluation timeline, the board recently approved the Collins and Blaha superintendent evaluation tool. Kim shared the updated superintendent evaluation 2-year timeline for this new tool, which will begin in April 2025. We began in every other year cycle this year with 3 previous effective ratings, and meeting adjourned at 4:08 p.m.
Any questions or comments? Thank you, Mrs. McKenna. And then lastly, Mrs. LeVar, would you please share with us the Teaching, Learning, and Technology Committee?
Yes, we met on March 25th at 3:30 p.m. I was present, Summer Putnam and John Van Wagner. Others attending were Matt Wandry, Michelle Bradford, Eric Ingalls, and Mary Moss. Meeting was called to order at 3:30 via Zoom. We discussed the math and ELI pilots that Michelle shared with us this evening. She reviewed the current math and ELA pilots. Generally, pilot recommendations are presented to the full board at a board meeting. However, she reviewed both pilots with the committee before the board meeting due to the difference in the pricing between the 2 ELA textbooks. Common Lit quote is for online material only. However, my perspective, the recommended text includes textbooks along with online material and trade books. She presented the full pilot recommendations at tonight's meeting. We discussed summer programming. Michelle reviewed the grant-funded programs offered this summer. Super Summer Success, K-6 Summer Academic Camp, K-6 and 7-12 Community Engagement, 7-12 Summer School and CFI Summer Reboot. She also reviewed the funding sources, teachers, dates, and locations of each program. And the meeting was adjourned at 3:58 p.m.
Any questions or comments? Thank you, Mrs. LeVar. This will conclude our reports for this evening, and we'll have right into action items. The first one is consent grouping, approval of minutes of March 5th, 2025. The change May 7th, 2025 board meeting date to May 14th, 2025. And then second reading and adoption of board policies, policy 312009 visitors, policy 9150 school visitors. Are there any items anybody wishes to remove from this consent grouping? Okay, I'm hearing none. Can I get a motion?
I make a motion that reading of the minutes and policies be waived and consent agenda items be approved as presented.
Second.
Okay, a motion and a support. Mr. Lipka?
Aye.
Dr. Watson?
Aye.
Mrs. LeVar?
Aye.
Mrs. McKenna?
Aye.
Mr. Van Wagner?
Aye.
Mrs. Putnam says aye. Motion carries. Okay, next we have, change order number 23, bid pack number 5.1, Lapeer High School addition auditorium risers.
I make a motion that Absolute Fire Protection Incorporated be issued an amount not to exceed $126,437.13 for the installation of new risers for the auditorium at LHS.
Support.
Okay, there's a motion and a support. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, hearing none. Mr. Lipka?
Aye.
Dr. Watson?
Aye.
Mrs. LeVar?
Aye.
Mrs. McKenna?
Aye.
Mr. Van Wagner?
Aye.
Mrs. Putnam says aye. Motion carries. Okay, next we have, bus bids.
I'll make the motion that 2 buses be purchased from Holstrom Transportation in the amount not to exceed $178,790.
Support.
I have a motion and a support. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, hearing none. Mr. Lipka?
Aye.
Dr. Watson?
Aye.
Mrs. LeVar?
Aye.
Mrs. McKenna?
Aye.
Mr. Van Wagner?
Aye.
Mrs. Putnam says aye. Motion carries. Asbesto basement.
I make a motion that the asbestos abatement bid for Trail Elementary be awarded to Nova Environmental Incorporated for an amount not to exceed $41,680.
Second.
Okay. I have a motion and a support. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, hearing none. Mr. Lipka?
Aye.
Dr. Watson?
Aye.
Mrs. LeVar?
Aye.
Mrs. McKenna?
Aye.
Mr. Van Wagner?
Aye.
Mrs. Putnam says aye. Motion carries. Okay, next have the resolution to consider designation of electoral representative for the June 2nd, 2025 ISD biannual election. So do we have any volunteers to be the representative and a volunteer to be an alternative?
I think she's volunteering even though she's not here.
Oh, man.
Hey, that's the cost of not being here, right?
You know, I do think in the past she has gone because she is there anyways, but, I don't think we really can volunteer her without her being here, so what we can do is take a volunteer and alternative this evening from the guests at this table.
Bring it on.
Don't everybody
She's done
speak it at
She's done
once.
it the last couple of times.
I thought she said last month. But, could be wrong.
Because they need it, right?
Yeah. June 2nd.
It's a Monday. Monday.
Do we know what time, Mary?
7 p.m.
7 p.m. Monday night on June 2nd.
And just so you know, for the parents, that is honors convocation night. So,
Oh, we're not doing it.
Yeah.
so if you're a parent of a current senior, do it. If you're not the parent of a current senior, you are available. I just want to draw attention.
So you're crossing people up and
I am not an official member of this board. I am a guest. Just so you guys know that.
Okay, so
I'll be the alternate, that's fine.
See, Tim Lipka stepping, that's leadership right there, ladies and gentlemen.
First to speak goes as the actual.
No, first to speak gets what he wants.
Tell your wife that?
John? Right.
I want to see you flip me.
You have to be flipping the first one to land on their feet.
That's right, there you go.
Next up for volunteers is graduation speeches, so.
Oh, well, we're already on this.
Yeah.
We did not. The high school, I know the high school, but we usually do 2 others.
Yeah, I'm gonna do the.
Remember, she's bashful.
Volunteering, Watson's volunteering. Okay, so,
I'll volunteer.
Watson, so do we have a motion then, by someone?
I make a motion.
You
Go
can
ahead.
add.
Throw my name in there.
I make a motion that the resolution to consider designation of electoral representative for the June 2nd, 2025 ISD biannual election be approved as presented, with Craig Watson serving as the representative and Tim Lipka serving as the alternate.
I'll support.
Okay, we have a motion and a support. Any other discussion on this?
You won't want me to discuss it.
Mr. Lee.
Aye.
Dr. Watson.
Aye.
Mrs. LeBar.
Aye.
Mrs. McKenna.
Aye.
Mr. Van Waker.
Aye.
Mrs. Putnam says aye.
That was the most painful 5 minutes I've ever experienced.
At least it's been a representative for picked an alternative because she was going.
Yes, we have, okay.
That's right, I could be sick.
So, the last one we have is, closed session.
I'll make a motion that the board move into closed session to discuss bargaining.
Support.
Okay. Mr. Lipka.
Aye.
Dr. Watson.
Aye.
Mrs. LeBar.
Aye.
Mrs. McKenna.
Aye.
Mr. Van Waker.
Aye.
Ms. Putnam says aye. We will head into closed session.